Hi, welcome to episode 10 of the Dorm Room Sports Podcast. I'm so sorry it's been so long. There's been lots going on, but I'm finally I'm happy to be back and ranting to all you people about hockey. So I have like a good amount of stuff to cover. I'm going to cover it in however long. It'll be under 20 minutes for sure. I'm going to talk about the playoffs. I'm going to talk about how garbage the reffing is, how it's been an absolute bracket breaker of a playoff in general, and then I'm gonna talk to you about the final. I posted something on the Instagram page about the St. Louis Blues series, who I think will win, and I hope you guys saw that, and I'm gonna get more into that kind of post. So we're gonna talk about the playoffs. This has been a backbreaker of the playoffs. I think about 95% of people had Tampa Bay winning the cup. That was gone. I had the Leafs going deep, not just because I'm a Leafs fan, but because if you look at that team on paper, they're absolutely disgusting, and that didn't turn out the way it should have. Pittsburgh didn't go deep. A lot of people thought Pittsburgh and Washington were paired up in several second-round brackets that I've seen. Toronto and Tampa Bay were paired up in a bracket. That both of those teams that didn't, like, all this is just, it's been a bracket breaker. I would love to find somebody who had a quarter of these teams going to where they've gone. Absolutely, I would love to. San Jose shouldn't have gone as far as they did at all. They cheated their way through Game 7. They got so lucky, not cheated, but they really got a couple of good bounces. Come on. Cross-check to the face is right here. And then the hand pass in Game 3, whoa, that was awful. I watched that game, and I watched that whole sequence, and I was just watching it. It's like, it's so obvious. And they're like, I can't review it. You can review it. Go and review it. There's a rule where you can't review the winning goal in the playoffs or something like that. Review it. The San Jose Sharks, in 2 of the 3 series they played, had the entire line of refs from their series booted. San Jose's done that twice in the playoffs alone. I mean, I don't know if the refs were wearing San Jose Sharks shirts underneath their zebra uniforms, but come on. They shouldn't have made it that far. Look at it this way. Joe, that penalty, that was a 2-minute minor for cross-checking. Great, good. Joe Pavelski, that whole falling over bleeding thing, that was more how he fell. That wasn't on Cody Eakin for how he cross-checked him. When he went down, that was more how he went down. That was not close to that. That's a 2-minute penalty, cross-checking. Vegas would have killed that off. There wouldn't have been a tie game at all. Vegas could have held on and won and moved on. San Jose wouldn't have moved on. You never know. San Jose could have come back in even strength and won the game. That's completely you'll never know. But honestly, looking at how that game was going, Vegas had it. And then they got a stupid, shouldn't have been called call. Gary Bettman admitted it at a meeting. The reffing has been garbage in the playoffs. And things worked out, though. St. Louis won the series. Everyone I wanted St. Louis to win the series. I know a lot of people did. They wanted Joe Thornton to get the cup, but they shouldn't have even been there. They shouldn't have even been where they were. Technically, they shouldn't have been where they were. But that's the bounces of the playoffs, and they were there. It was a great series to watch, and St. Louis is in the final against the Boston Bruins, and they played Game 1, and we'll get to that. Talking about the rest of the playoffs, though, I thought that, Carolina, a lot has happened in between my last video and this one. I tried to record one, but it wouldn't post for some reason. It was a lot more updated, and it was a lot more, it was about, the series, but, there's been a lot going on. Obviously, we know Boston swept Carolina. I'm incredibly impressed with how Carolina did. They did incredibly well. They are a staple in the league now. They were a bit of a joke before. Not necessarily a joke, but you know what I mean. They were at the bottom of the league. No one expected them to make the playoffs. They turned it around. Coaching was amazing. Rod Brind'Amour coached the heck out of that team. He's got a special place in his heart for Carolina, of course, because they won the cup there. They played incredibly well that entire playoff. Mrazek, McElhinney, both played really well. I want their goalie tandem to come back. I want most of that team. I want to see most of that team come back. I know there's a lot of pieces that may move, but that was a great team. I think they should try to keep a lot of them together. going through those playoffs, a lot of teams did really well. Like Boston, of course, made it to the final. They've got their system that's just robotic in likingness, and they've made it all the way through. Clean, like they beat Columbus in 6 games. I thought Columbus was dominant in several of them, but Boston had the upper hand, and they moved on and won. And they moved on and won that series. Played Carolina, won last night. Boston came back from 2-0 down to win that game. We'll get bit more into that game in a bit, but like we're going to talk about some other stuff, as I've said. So I want to talk a bit about the Leafs quickly. The Leafs over the summer, you need a backup goalie because your goaltending has been Frederik Andersen, and that's it. You need to sign Marner. Somebody's going to go, and I would assume it would be Kapanen, because Kapanen and Gardner, because Gardner plays for the Bruins. I'm going to scream. I would scream about Gardner. Kapanen is most likely to get traded. Gardner is gone. They're not going to re-sign him after the playoff he played and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, he's key to the team, whatever. You can't do what you've done. He did it back-to-back in the same game, in the same kind of time period where you can't do it, and he did. And it helped cost the game. Among other things, a whole bunch of stuff went down. Matthews and the whole, I called for the puck, the whole thing. They're all trying to defend him. It was on Gardner. Use your eyes. Use your eyes. You're a defenseman. You're one of the top defensemen most relied on the team, and you don't use your eyes. That's on you. That's on Gardner, not on anybody else. That's on Gardner. So this summer, they need to sign Marner. They need to sign Janssen. They need to either sign Kapanen or trade him. Gardner's gone. You got to get a new backup goalie because Sparks was nowhere close to being ready yet. Yeah, he won the Calder Cup. Great. So did Ian Scott. Ian Scott won the Calder Cup. He was their third-string goalie. Does that mean he goes on? Calvin Pickard didn't get picked on, and he played really well that season. I went to a game where he was in net, and he stood on his head. Sparks won the MVP. That's great. He wasn't ready to come up, though, which sucks because he was riding a high where he stonewalled Texas in the last series. But that's just how it went. I'm not going to rant about the Leafs too much because this is a hockey-based podcast channel, and I want to talk about everybody. I will always talk a little bit about the Leafs because they're my team, but I'm going to talk about everyone. So this summer, I think there's going to be some huge trades going on this summer, and I'm really excited to see it. It's going to be interesting for me, especially to post a video because there's not a lot going on. I'm looking for stuff to talk about because there's so little because there's no games. Obviously now it's Stanley Cup final. Yeah, everyone's getting hyped about the final. I want to make a video and talk about the Raptors. I honestly do. I think I might do it. If anybody has a suggestion, please let me know. I might make a video about the Raptors. I'm trying to expand this. I have a goal where once I meet a certain number of subscribers and a certain number of following, I'm going to expand into different sports. I want to expand. I want to bring somebody on to talk about basketball and see how that goes because I think that would gain a lot of ground. Maybe baseball, maybe so on and so on and so on. Right now I started with hockey because that's one of my main sports. I don't want to go talking about other sports when I don't know it as well. Of course, the Raptors are in the final. I've watched all the games. I've watched 75% of the games so far this series, so far this playoffs for them. I watched the game out with friends on Saturday night watching Game 6. That was awesome. That was just ridiculous. Kawhi Leonard dunking on Giannis. Giannis can go home. Giannis can go home. That was hilarious. That was the best, probably one of the best dunks. Drake overreacted. Drake massaging everybody. It was great. Drake was having a great time massaging everyone. It was funny. But back to hockey for right now. Game Stanley Cup Finals, St. Louis versus Boston. I said St. Louis in 6. I stick to it even though they lost last night. I think St. Louis will come back. St. Louis shows what they can do. They're relentless. They let up. They let off the gas pedal. You can't do that. They let off the gas pedal. They know they can keep it on the gas pedal. We know they can. We've seen it. You shown it. They can do it. They will be able to hold on. I think they can win it in 6. At most 7 games. At best 5 games. But you obviously never know. Boston could come in and win the cup. But I want St. Louis to win. I absolutely do. They've got a lot of Canadian boys on the team. All these guys are good. Jordan Binnington has played absolutely ridiculous. That kid is a stone cold killer. Just straight face. stonewall face, no reaction. They made it to the Stanley Cup final. He literally just was like, tap posts, prop a couple of boys, straight face. Obviously he was smiling afterwards, but like no like super big jumpy celebration. Stonewalled. Nothing. That is badass. It's awesome. It's so cool how he does that. Absolutely just straight face, all about the business. I wouldn't be like that. I don't know if I'm very competitive. I would lose my mind. I was a very animated goaltender. I still am, but I'm not going to get into that. But Binnington, Stonewall, I think they're going to do great. St. Louis, I want St. Louis. I think they'll win. I think they'll win the series for sure. A lot of people are saying Boston just because it's Boston, but I think St. Louis has as good a chance as any other team. So, it's a Stanley Cup final already. Like, looking at that game, Boston came back. Boston took advantage. Torrey Krug, that was a charge for sure. I don't know if anybody knows what I'm talking about. There's a really, really questionable hit in that game, and he ran a guy, and he was so mad because he was fighting with Perron in front of the net, and he was all in a bad mood and all whiny and went up and hit Robert Thomas, and that was like, come on, like don't like lose yourself like that. Just go to you're battling in front of the net. Don't get all upset and go and hit the first guy you see. He went full out. You can watch that replay. Full tilt down to find somebody to hit. Obviously, Robert Thomas is a lot bigger than Torrey Krug because Torrey Krug is a little midget. But Robert Thomas went down, but you saw Thomas get right back up. But like the point was it a charge? Yes, I think it was. So, this was a bit of a shorter video because there's not a heck of a lot to talk about. I will be trying to make another one next Monday, give or take. I will let everybody know. I will be posting more though. I'll be posting Thursday. I'll be posting like the day after every game, and in that span of time, if there's been any news, including the highlights, if there's been any news about anything, I will put that into separate posts in that kind of time frame. I'll obviously post the night before, like the day before. I'll post during the day before the game, talk about anything, talk about other news, of course, and I will hope to have this video properly up by the end of the day today. So thank you guys very much for watching. It felt good to be back and ranting to you people about hockey. I will see you all in the next video. Thank you very much.